Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the action thriller The Accountant 2, which is the sequel to, wait for it, The Accountant, which came out in 2016. Returning for part 2 is Ben Affleck, Jon Bernthal, and Cynthia Robinson, as well as J.K. Simmons, and also returning is director Gavin O'Connor. And in this film, when someone close to her is killed by unknown assassins, Treasury agent Mary Beth Medina is forced to contact Christian Wolf to solve the murder. With the help of his estranged but highly lethal brother Brax, Chris applies his brilliant mind and less than lethal methods to piece together the unsolved puzzle. As they come closer to the truth, the trio draw the attention of some of the most ruthless killers alive, all intent on putting a stop to their search. This film, as mentioned, is the sequel to The Accountant, which was a kind of a sleeper hit. It was a shocker how good of a movie that was. I didn't think The Accountant would be anything when it came out. I was like, okay, it's worth a watch. I like Ben Affleck, and let's see what he got here. And man, what a good movie! It's one of my favorite Ben Affleck's performances throughout his career. Definitely what I would consider a career-defining role for him. So it was kind of a no-brainer that we were going to get a sequel. I mean, that movie was more than just a hired killer film or a revenge film. It's not your typical assassin film. It's smarter than that. And Gavin O'Connor, who gave us the MMA family classic Warrior, which is one of my favorite movies. I love Warrior with Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. He did a really good job of just keeping it real, keeping it kind of subtle. It wasn't bombarded with action sequences and fight sequences and shootouts. Granted, we got some of that, but it wasn't just a run-of-the-mill action movie. It was so much more, and it really focused on the performances of his actors. And so we get to this version, The Accountant Part 2, and I was wondering where we would go in the continuation of the story of Christian Wolf. Very, very interesting character. Christian Wolf is, on the spectrum. He has a form of autism, but the way he uses it is like the most ingenious way I've seen in movies. I know that people use their brains in miraculous ways every day, but I mean, as far as you see it in film, this was a unique take on an artistic person, and with these set of skills, you normally see somebody with these, a John Wick type with these set of skills, but just imagine John Wick with the brain of Sherlock Holmes. That is scary. That is frightening as all get out. And that's exactly what Christian Wolf is, and this is more of a deeper dive into his character in this film. We see a little bit more. We see this character kind of peeling off the layers of that onion that is his mind in this film, and you connect with him more. He isn't just a vicious killer. He isn't just a introvert or a weirdo or whatever. It's more to it, and we kind of dive into his character a little more in this film. This film was, I think, better than the first one. The Accountant 2 was awesome. I had such a good time with The Accountant 2. And to say that this was better than the first one is saying a lot coming from me, because I loved the first one. And when you go see a sequel, that's your prayer. That's the hope and wish that you go into a theater or watch it at home, wherever. That, man, at least at the very least, be at the same quality as your predecessor. If it's able to be better than the first film, you got something. And this film does that in spades. Speaking of doing more with characters, Jon Bernthal, my goodness, he was my favorite character in this movie. Favorite actor in this movie. I just love Jon Bernthal as well. He can do no wrong in my eyes. He's the Punisher. He was Shane in The Walking Dead. So on and so forth. Multiple films throughout his great career that he is carving for himself. I loved him in this movie. I mean, you want to talk about the brother dynamic in this movie that we got. This is what the film is, and I think this is where Gavin O'Connor shined. Talking back towards the film, his first film, Warrior, with that brother dynamic, and we get a version of that here, but instead of MMA fighters, we get assassins as a replacement. But this dynamic between these two brothers was dynamite. Ben Affleck and Jon Bernthal had the greatest chemistry you can see on screen. I believe it was moments I was sitting there actually looking at these two actors when they're playing off of each other in the scene and looking at their facial features to see, are they similar? Are they related? I was so entrenched in their performance. Like, they are brothers, and trust me, coming from somebody who has a big brother, I know how brother relationships work. I'm pretty sure all y'all have brothers or sisters or whatever the case may be that y'all have a strong connection to and have this civil and rivalry or whatever back and forths and all this here. We all have it. But this film, it just felt real between these two. And there's a scene in here, no spoilers, but there's a scene in here where Jon Bernthal character and Ben Affleck's character have kind of a heart-to-heart. More Jon Bernthal, he asks Ben Affleck a question that has been plaguing him his whole life, that has been weighing on him his entire life. And Jon Bernthal's performance in this scene, I honestly teared up. I teared up because he asked this question and it felt so sincere and real. I was like, oh my God. And Ben Affleck's character, with that autism, he's literal. He doesn't speak in sarcasm or beating around the bush and all this other stuff. He's literal. His understanding is one way, and he answers the question, but it's not the answer that he wanted. Jon Bernthal character wanted, and you can tell that wasn't what Ben Affleck wanted to say. It's because that's how his mind works. But at the same time, he cannot express himself in the way that Jon Bernthal's character, his younger brother, was needing at that point in time. And it was so devastating. And the performance of Jon Bernthal is like he knew that. He knew that, but he just wants to hear it. And it was like pulling teeth, but he was mad, but at the same time, he was understanding. It was just beautifully done. It was beautifully done. And I'm telling you about these heartfelt, touching moments in this action thriller. But that's what stuck out more than anything. But since y'all want to hear about the action was amazing. This was good action. Nothing far-fetched. It was pretty grounded in their approach to action, and it was amazing to see Ben Affleck in this type of role. I really, once again, looking at this film, I got mad because Warner Brothers and DC really dropped the ball with Ben Affleck as Batman. Because the whole while I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this is Batman with autism. This is that character. I mean, he was a beast in this role, just like he was in the first movie, but they showed more of it here. It was turned up to 11 here in some of the fight choreography and the shootout scenes and whatnot. He was a beast. I was like, man, they dropped the ball. He was an awesome Batman, but his whole character felt like Batman to me. He even has like a family of Robins that's helping him, which is a cool scene that they had with these artistic kids that are basically his pupils, and like I said, I can't go into spoilers, but it was a cool scene, cool addition to this movie. One of the shocking things about this movie that I wasn't expecting and I enjoyed it was it was funnier than I expected. This movie was funny. I mean, laugh out loud funny, and not in a this is trying to be a comedy type of way. It was just funny, certain little scenes here, a line of dialogue that's dropped here, or whatever the case may be. Jon Bernthal was funny, just being himself, he was just funny. And even Ben Affleck, it was funnier than I thought, but funny good, not silly. It wasn't dumb humor. It was intelligent humor, and I appreciated that as well. If I had one negative about this film that I do have, and that is the character, not so much the actress in her performance, but the character of Mary Beth Medina, played by Cynthia Robinson. I didn't care for her character because she complained. She's working with an assassin. She's a treasury agent. She went and reached out to Ben Affleck's character. And I'm not spoiling nothing. This is all in the trailer. So she reaches out to him to help her. And he has his methods on how to achieve, to get the goal, to get information. And every time he does it, she gets mad. She gets angry. You're a criminal. You're this. You're that. No kidding, lady. You came to me. You came to me with your help. Now, he didn't say this, but this is what I'm saying in my mind. Like, you went to him. Why are you getting mad every single time? It's like, what did you think he was gonna do in this moment, or his brother? What you thought they were gonna do? This is who they are. They work outside the law. You're hampered by the law. They work outside the law to achieve their goals. So that was my thing. I like that character. I can understand at the beginning of it, at the beginning of their work relationship, that is kind of jarring to work alongside of a criminal, and you don't agree with the methods and this, that, and the third, but you see that it's getting results, and it's not like they're doing this to innocent people. They're doing this to criminals themselves. So it's not like it's super evil intentions that they're doing this. Once again, you reached out to him. He was minding his own business. And so that's the part that just like, really, get over yourself. Get over yourself. But that's pretty much my knock in it. In my other knock, I did have two. It was that character and the fact this movie, it was a little long. It was a little long. As much as I was enjoying it, and I enjoyed everything about the film. I had a good time, but it kind of went. It kind of went a little long, and I was like, okay. At one point, and this is the first time I ever did this, I actually checked my watch before a film that I was enjoying, because I felt like I was in there for 2 hours and something. Maybe if they would have shaved off 10, maybe 12 minutes, and it probably would have been a better experience, because there were a couple of scenes like in the middle there where I see the purpose of the scene, but they could have trimmed that scene by a minute or two. We didn't have to linger on this for 30 or 45 seconds and stuff like, that adds up after a while. and it just kind of, it made the movie longer than what it had to be. But with that, all that being said, this was a fun time, a good time, and a real cool story, a poignant story, and it actually has a really good message in it as well. So there's a lot in here, on top of the fact that this is a quote unquote dumb action movie, but it's a real good time in the theater, and If you enjoyed The Accountant, you're definitely going to enjoy The Accountant 2, which gets a letter grade of a B plus. Yes, a real good time. A shocker, a shocking hit film in my eyes. I didn't doubt that it was going to be any good or not, but it's better than what I expected. And hey, that's all I can wish for. Are you planning on checking out The Accountant 2 when it comes out this Friday? Or how did you feel about the first film, The Accountant? Did you like that? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of The Accountant 2. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.